Hi, everyone. It's nice to be able to be with you again today. Today is Good Friday. And even though Good Friday sounds like something, well, good, and it is also a really difficult day in the memories of those of us who follow Christ. If you have a Spark Bible at home, push pause and go find it.
Turn to page 476 and read along with me. The day Jesus died. It was a very sad day when Jesus died. The soldiers who had arrested Jesus teased him for pretending to be a king. They took his clothes and put a king's purple cloak on him. They made a crown of vines with sharp thorns and put it on Jesus' head. Ouch! The soldiers made Jesus carry a heavy wooden cross. The cross was too heavy for him. Jesus fell and skinned his knees, and the cross tumbled to the ground. A man in the crowd carried the cross the rest of the way. The soldiers nailed Jesus' hands and feet to the cross. They raised Jesus' cross up on a hill between two other men. The other men were thieves, and they were being crucified too. One of the men was angry with Jesus. "If you are a powerful king, can't you save yourself? Why don't you save us too?" The man spat at Jesus. But the other thief believed in Jesus. He shouted back, "Don't you know who this is? This is God's Son. He hasn't done anything wrong. We are being punished for our mistakes, but Jesus shouldn't be here." The man turned to Jesus and asked, "Will you take me to heaven with you?" Jesus looked at the man and loved him. Jesus told him, "Yes, today we will be in heaven together." After a while, the world grew very dark, as if a terrible thunderstorm was coming. It was as if all of creation was crying because Jesus was about to die. Jesus was feeling all alone and prayed to see if God was still there. Of course, God never left Jesus. God was with him the whole time. Jesus looked at the crowd. He was so sad that people didn't believe that he was God's son. He asked God to forgive them for killing him. The soldiers offered him some sour wine, but he didn't want to drink it. He was ready to die. Finally, Jesus had fought for long enough. He said, "God, the work you gave me to do here is finished." He breathed a final, long, slow breath, and then he died.
The day that Jesus died, there were still many, many folks who did not believe that he is the Son of God. Some of those folks changed their minds, though, as that day moved on. When Christ died, some interesting things happened at the same time. First, a darkness came over the land. Very dark, everywhere. That was interesting and very different for an afternoon. Secondly, in the temple, there is a special curtain that separates the main part of the temple from the holiest part of the temple. And when Christ died, that curtain ripped in half all by itself. And third, there was an earthquake when Christ died. These were big signs to people who weren't sure. And many, many people understood that Christ was indeed God's Son when those things happened. Now, to really understand what Christ did for us on that day, we have to understand what sin is. Okay, so let's break it down. Sin happens whenever we do things our way instead of God's way. And that happens a lot, doesn't it? When we do things that make others and God unhappy, like not doing what we're told, lying, hurting others' feelings, being selfish, we are doing things our way and not God's way. Because Jesus obeyed. Jesus never lied. Jesus never hurt others. Instead, he healed them. And Jesus was selfless to the point that he gave his life for us. Now, Adam and Eve committed the first sin when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God told them they could eat from any tree except that one. And yet, they ate from that tree. That was the time that sin entered our world. And sin has been a part of our world ever since. Will you pray with me, please? Hey, God, thank you for waking us up today. And thank you for giving us a reminder of how incredible the gift Jesus Christ gave to us is. Help us to accept that we are all sinners and give us strength and guidance through the Spirit to help us do our best to try and not sin, knowing that we will not succeed, but also knowing that we are forgiven because of the love of Jesus Christ. And all of God's people said, Amen. So here's your challenge. I challenge you to think about things that you may have done in the past week or even today that you think were more what you wanted to do than what God wanted you to do. And I want you to say to God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did these things. Help me, God, to do better next time. God will never leave you, will always help you. And the gift that Jesus gives us frees us from sin, which is pretty awesome. I dare say it's even good on this Good Friday.